Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Deciding Factor. Alton, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it here today, but I have Barbara joining me today. And today is going to be a fun topic. Now, I know we're all a little annoyed and bothered with talking politics, but I'm going to give us one last political talk. So today's topic is actually, should Americans be voting for a non-politician in this election? So guys, make sure you click like and subscribe to our channel as well as our podcast, because this is going to be a fun one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Deciding Factor.
Everyday life issues broken down to help you build your own opinions on the issues that matter most. Coming to you from Austin, Texas, this is The Deciding Factor with your host, Alton Hill and John Herzog.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again. Like I said before, we are going to be talking about politics and should you vote for a non-politician? Now, I got this call several weeks ago and I could not wait to get this guest on. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to a man who actually is a non-politician, but he's running for Republican governor of Washington State. He is trying to take over a state basically that has been run for the last 30 years by Democratic politicians who are lifelong politicians. He's also served in the world famous 101st Airborne Division and the 2nd Infantry. He also went on to own a small business after that for 20 years. But for the last decade, he has been serving his community in the Republic of Washington as chief of police. And in his career, he has gained real-world experience in both leadership and handling problems of drug addiction, homelessness, and civil unrest. Guys, please welcome Chief Loren Culp. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. It is our pleasure. In fact, Barb is a fan of yours, I believe.
I'm a fan.
She actually resides there in Washington. I'm in Texas, so unfortunately I can't vote for you, but I will harass the heck out of you on this show to find out the truth.
Excellent. I love harassment.
Now, I do apologize on behalf of Barb. I know she did some stalking to get y'all on the show, so but I appreciate it.
It happens. But see, I have to jump in here because John is obviously from Texas because he referred to it as the Republic of Washington. We're not that far out. Republic is the town.
Yes. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
City of Republic in Washington State. Yes.
There you go.
Nice. So I guess let's start out. You were chief of police. You're going for governor in Washington. What on earth made you decide to go from one crazy position to an even worse position?
Right. Yeah, that's the $1 million question right there, right? It was my childhood dream to be a police officer, but life kind of takes you in different directions sometimes. And I didn't realize my childhood dream until the age of 49. After running my own business for 20 years, and as you mentioned, serving in the military. But a series of events just happened in my life that led me down this road to being the person who is going to unseat a 2-term governor in Washington State. It wasn't by my planning, wasn't by my design. It just happened and led me down this road. And it started, well, after I realized my childhood dream, at the age of 49, became a police officer. Served the city of Republic for the last 10 years and 4 years as chief of police there. In 2018, this series of events kicked off. I was plenty happy, realizing my childhood dream. As far as I knew at the time, my plan was to die of old age in a patrol car because I loved serving the community, putting bad people in jail, and protecting good people. But these events started right after a statewide initiative passed in this state that made it against the law for military age young adults, 18 to 21. They could not buy a semi-automatic rifle, even a 10-22 plinker rifle that most kids learn how to shoot with.
Right.
One day it was legal, the next day it was against the law. And if they already owned one, they could not leave their own property with that. So added to that, it made potential felons out of otherwise law-abiding citizens. If a criminal broke into your home, stole a firearm, went out and committed a crime with that firearm, you as the homeowner could be charged with up to a felony for what that criminal did. I knew it was bad law. I knew it was unconstitutional. You know, I raised my right hand and I swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, not only of the United States, but of the state of Washington. And what even a lot of people who live in Washington state don't realize is the Washington state Constitution is even more explicit than the Second Amendment. It says in Article 1, Section 24, that the right of the individual citizen to bear arms in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired. Pretty simple, one sentence, right? So I knew what I swore an oath to uphold and defend. I knew that I wasn't going to abide by that. And the day after that passed, I was asked by citizens if I was going to start arresting 18 to 21-year-olds who I saw with a semi-automatic rifle. And for those of you who don't know, Republic is very rural. You know, most of Washington state is rural. So a lot of firearms around, and even with young people. So I told them, no, I'm not going to enforce that. That would be a violation of my oath of office, and I would be violating citizens' constitutional rights, which come from our Creator and are supposed to be protected by the government. And so that got me on the national news. It was big news. I had no idea that was going to happen. I didn't know it would be an anomaly for a public servant to say, no, I'm going to abide by my oath of office and I'm going to follow the Constitution. But it did. I did hundreds of radio and newspaper interviews all across the country. And I was on the national news. I was on Fox and Friends. I was Tucker Carlson's show. I was on the Daily Ledger talking about why I made this stand and by what authority I did, you know, talking about our rights in the Constitution and the role of public servants. And that led me to writing a book in December of 2018. I wrote American Cop, and it became a #1 bestseller right away on Amazon in multiple categories. And it stayed #1 for weeks. That led me to being invited around the state to Republican Party Lincoln Day dinners as a speaker, and to sportsman shows and gun shows every weekend. In the spring and summer of 2019, I was traveling somewhere to speak, talk to citizens about their rights, and to put pressure on the public servants to stand up for their rights. Because Article 1, Section 1 of the Washington State Constitution is real quick. It says that the power is inherent in the people and government is there to protect citizens' rights. First thing our founders of Washington State wrote in the Constitution. So we needed to put pressure on our public servants, and citizens needed to know what their rights are, because we're not taught about the Washington State Constitution in school. That led to people asking me to run for governor. And at first, you know, I didn't grow up thinking, man, someday I want to be a politician. You know, I don't know. I guess some people do that, but I was living my childhood dream, being a police officer. But the more I went around and spoke around the state, the more and more people asked me the same thing. You know, we need to get rid of Jay Inslee. We need someone to stand up for our rights. And so in July of 2019, I you know, after being asked every weekend, going different places, I talked to my wife, Barb, and we've been married for 43 years, by the way, coming up. And we've got 2 grown sons and 7 grandkids that live in the state. And we talked about it. And I said, you know, if I don't jump in here with both feet, with all these people asking me the same thing all over the state, that I would regret it for the rest of my life. And I don't like to live with regret. So that's when it started. I announced I was running in July of 2019. And it's been like riding a rocket ship ever since.
So this is, I actually didn't know a lot of that story. I'm glad you explained that. So let's say that you get in November, which is certainly what I'm hoping for. There's a lot to change here. Where would you begin? What would be the 3 top things that you would be looking to change once you take over the governorship? Right.
There are so many things, I mean, that need to be changed. But first of all, I will take the oath of office, you know, raise my right hand, swear an oath. And just like the other 3 public oaths that I've taken, I will mean this one as well. And appoint my department heads, because the governor appoints quite a few department heads, you know, to the various agencies in the state. And every one of those people, I'll be vetting them as soon as we're declared the winner after the vote in November. Every one of them will have the understanding that and the belief that we are servants of the people, not their master, not their boss. We are public servants, and work towards that end. And also, we will have the Washington Administrative Code. They're called WACs, WAC. Those are rules that are put in place by administrators, by bureaucrats in the different agencies. They're often treated like law, in court, but they are not law. They're not voted on. They're not put in place by the legislature, sent to the governor for a signature. These are just put in place by bureaucrats. And there are rules and regulations that businesses and farmers, pretty much everybody has to follow. And they keep adding to them all the time. I have never heard of any of the regulations being lessened in this state. They always add on to them. And so, you could fill a room full of the Washington Administrative Code. It is very extensive, and they never get rid of any. So we're going to have a whole list of regulations to get rid of. Because I ran my own business for over 20 years in this state, right by Olympia, the capital of the state. And I know that this is not a business-friendly state. It's not a family-friendly state. And we're going to get rid of the unnecessary, burdensome regulations to free our businesses, free up capital, free up entrepreneurs. People will want to come to this state to start a business. People that live here will start businesses, and our businesses will thrive, which will create jobs like we have never seen. Right now we have a governor who is running businesses out of this state. Boeing just announced that they're leaving. It's because of the high taxes and the regulations, and we're going to get that under control. So those are my first priorities. And one of the first things also is I will sign an executive order immediately lifting any restrictions on citizens and businesses that the current governor has in place.
Now, you talked about businesses leaving. They had that issue down in Seattle. It's my understanding, I think Fox News reported that all the businesses in that little area are leaving, and they are not coming back due to all of the mess that just recently happened with the police department and allowing all of this just to go on, and no support from the government. Is that correct?
Right. That's correct. Yeah. There was, they had protests to the George Floyd killing, which is great. We all have a First Amendment right, correct? I saw the video. It appeared to me that officer held his knee on his neck and killed him. That is no police training anywhere in the United States. That is no one's policy to do something like that. Protesting that, absolutely. First Amendment right to peaceably assemble, speak our mind, go to church by choice, all the rights of the First Amendment. But once it turns violent, once people start looting stores and lighting buildings and cars on fire and throwing rocks and frozen water bottles at our police, that is no longer a First Amendment right. That's a crime. It's called rioting, and it needs to be shut down. So, yeah, our current governor said that he didn't even know that people had taken over several city blocks of the biggest city in the state 48 hours after it happened. And that's turned out to be a lie, because he admitted that during our debate the other night. He said, yeah, I knew it was happening. So he's lied to the citizens multiple times. 33 times he's lied, because he told people when he was first elected that he would never, ever raise taxes on the citizens. He's done it 33 times. But yeah, he did not know that was happening.
So I'm going to add a twist to Barbara's last question about laws that you want to change and things like that. So in the state of Texas, when it comes to custody battles, right? A lot of the men, single fathers, we kind of get screwed when it comes to the court system. And that leads to a lot of issues, as I'm sure you've had to deal with going from house to house. Child custody can really agitate guys in the sense of, they'll try as much as possible to give every chance to the mother as far as main control of the kid, or even the ability to leave the state. I personally had to go through something like this in my life. And my question to you is there anything unique that most people don't think about in office, such as that topic, that you might be pursuing that you want to let everyone know?
Yeah, definitely. The courts, it seems, especially like you just said, it's not always fair, right? That should be changed. That would probably take some action by the legislature to get different laws enacted to get some of these judges to be a little more fair. I've talked to a lot of people here in this state, same issue. There are a lot of issues that I will do that this governor has absolutely failed on and probably has no clue about. I think he's clueless on a lot of things. I've been a lifelong hunter and a fisherman, since I was young. I was raised in the woods hunting and fishing, raised my kids the same way. And the fishing industry is one big thing that is near and dear to my heart. One of my grandpas was a commercial fisherman. My other grandpa was a sport fisherman. So, like I said, my dad was fished and hunted, but the salmon, the great Northwest used to be well known around the country, around the world for our fishing. People would come here. To go fishing. And there used to be, in one of the ports on the coast, there used to be over 300 charter boats that worked out of the town of Westport. And there are several ports just like that around the state. We have a lot of waterfront in this state. We've got Puget Sound, we've got the ocean, we've got the Strait of Juan de Fuca. But just Westport, 300 charter boats. Now they only have about 28 charter boats. Every boat had a captain and a crew, plus all the support facilities on shore, the airlines, the hotels, the rental cars, sporting goods stores, mom and pop restaurants, gas stations, fishing and hunting fees that were paid to the state for licensing and tags, so that they've gone from 300 charter boats to 28. That's a huge industry when you multiply it by all the ports around the state that is no longer here. And that's because of the piss poor management of our state and our fisheries. Our current governor talks about, well, we need to spend millions and millions of dollars and study this and figure out how we can get more salmon back to feed the orcas. And orcas, otherwise known as killer whales, are beautiful. They're a beautiful animal. I've seen them in the wild. And we do need salmon to come back to feed the orcas. We also need salmon to come back, which he never mentions, to bring back this entire industry, to bring back family wage jobs. And there's three things. We don't need another study, right? They spend millions and millions of dollars studying everything to death, but that's a way for them to funnel money to their friends so that they can make large donations back to their campaigns. It happens all the time. I don't need a study. This is just common sense. We need three things to happen. We need our hatcheries putting out 100%. We need to control the predator population. The Department of Wildlife manages the wildlife in our state. We need to include predators in that management, not just game animals. We've got seals and sea lions piling up at the bottom of dams, piling up at the mouths of rivers that are eating salmon like crazy. You go out and you catch a salmon, while you're reeling it in, a seal or a sea lion will come along and take a big bite out of the salmon that you just caught. They're killing them by the millions. And then the birds as well. The birds are overrun. There's birds in this state that aren't even native to here, and they eat a lot of the smolt that are going back out. So those are two things. The third thing is we need to work on the environment. Salmon need clean gravel to spawn in. And if we do those three things, we will have salmon back, and in a big way. There's absolutely no reason why we don't, other than it's a money-making machine, just like the homeless industrial complex that's going on. And I don't know how much time we have, but I can talk forever about that as well. It's absolutely pathetic.
Well, I live in Austin and I visited Seattle, and y'all have it worse than me, and I hate it here. So you can imagine how that pisses me off when I go to visit a city like Seattle that's talked about so much. So
used to be a beautiful city. Its nickname is the Emerald City. When I was a kid, my parents would take us down to the Seattle Center and other places in Seattle. It was beautiful. It was fun. I took my kids down there in the 80s and early 90s, but I wouldn't take a family down there now. It's absolutely disgusting. And they're dismantling their police department.
Yeah, it's a terrifying place to go now. And it is too bad. We just moved to this side of the state, and I remember when
sad.
It was a treat to go to Seattle. So I am curious. Now, this is something that I think you have obviously faced a lot of criticism throughout your campaign. part of it seems to be that even if we don't like the political system as we know it, even if we know that, like you said, that this is special interests are running things, there have been some question, can someone that is not schooled in the game as it is now, can you go and beat it? Can you go and change the political system as it exists now? Do you have anything to say to voters, or voters across the country, really? Can we put our confidence in someone that doesn't have experience in the system?
Right. And anytime you have a first-time politician, a first-time candidate, I hate that word politician, a first-time candidate, of course, they've not been in office before. So yeah, there will be a little bit of a learning curve, but here's the thing. I've spent my entire life in the public sector, in the real world. The reason we are in the situation we're in, the reason that we have overrun with homelessness, and by the way, I don't call it all about homes. It's all about an addiction and a mental health crisis that we need to fix. The reason that we have that, the reason we have high taxes, the reason we have high regulations, the reason we have businesses leaving the state is because of career politicians, people who have been in office, people that apparently know how the political process works. So that's the reason we're in the position that we're in. That's why I'm running, is because of that. And they talk about, well, he doesn't have experience in the political field. He doesn't have a college degree. Well, I have a degree. I have a PhD in how to make it in the real world, how to build a business. When I was in the military, I was the honor graduate of my advanced individual training class. I was the honor graduate of the non-commissioned officers academy. I went through drill sergeant school. I served overseas for a year. I know how to lead. I've been leading since I was a teenager, and then started my own business after 3 or 4 years of working for other people in the building trades. I ran my own business for over 20 years. I know how to work budgets. I know how to get a team together, right? The thing about being governor is, and I've been asked this by people in Seattle, reporters, obviously left wing. Well, how are you going to run 7.5 million, a state of 7.5 million people? You've only run a handful of people in your construction business and a couple in the police department. How are you going to lead 7.5 million people? And here's the thing. That's politician think, right? Like our current governor, he thinks he's our boss. He thinks he's the boss of 7.5 million people. He's telling us what to do, what to wear, who can work, who can't work. But I am not going to be the leader of 7.5 million people. I'm not running to be the leader of your life. I'm not running to be the leader of your business or your family. You, the citizens, will be the leader of your family and your business and your life. I will run the executive branch of the state government and manage that and work to get it off your back and out of your pocketbook. So to run 7.5 million people, no, I'm not going to be in office running 7.5 million people. I will take care of the executive branch of the state government. And just like when you're building a house, when you're a contractor of a development or a house, you organize things. You get the people that know what they're doing and how they can do each job, right? When you need plumbing put into a house, you, as a general contractor, you don't grab the glue and the plastic pipe and the solder and start putting in pipes in the house. You hire a professional. You hire someone who knows how to do that, and you oversee. As a contractor and as a homeowner, as anybody, you know how toilets are supposed to work. When you turn the faucet, the water comes out and it goes down the drain. So you hire a professional to do that. When you need it electrical, you hire someone who knows that field, who knows how to run the wires, who knows that when you flip the switch, the light turns on or the fan turns on. And that's management. That's getting people in place in my cabinet that specialize in each part of the government that they're going to be in charge of. So running 7.5 million people's lives, absolutely not. That's not what I'm going to do. That's what our current governor tries to do. And that's why I'm where I'm at and why I'm leading in this race.
Man, that's a pretty good answer. I do HR for a living, and that's a pretty good response there. I appreciate that.
It gets me excited, because I've had that question so many times from the left-wing media. It's like, well, you don't have any experience running 7.5 million people's lives. It's like, you're right. and I won't.
So I've got to admit, when we first started talking about you coming on the show, I started Googling you and I wanted to find out all the dirt, right? So they've started, it looks like, to make a bunch of stories. In my opinion, I think they're stories. I don't think they're accurate. But I mean,
Right.
they've been attacking the hell out of you. I mean, there was a story about a girl that was sexually assaulted and I guess you threw it out and they twisted it a different way. How do you have an idea exactly who's attacking you and exactly why?
Well, obviously it's my opponents. Yeah, it's funny that, a case that I did, I've been a police officer for 10 years. So I'd been a police officer for 3 years, 7 years ago. There was a case where it wasn't in my jurisdiction, wasn't my department, wasn't my investigation. I was on duty and a county deputy was also on duty. So we were the only two people on duty, and he had been investigating apparently a child abuse case. And he asked me if I would go. He was going to interview some people involved in it and wanted someone to be there as a witness. And so I was involved in one interview of the victim, one time. That's all the involvement that I had in that. And apparently the county had interviewed her, the mom, the dad, and other people multiple times. And so, yeah, from 70 years ago, now they're trying to turn that around and say, well, Chief of Police Loren Culp doesn't believe sex abuse victims. He sides with pedophiles. I mean, that's a big leap, but that's what they're doing. So, yeah, that's the deal on that.
That's jacked up. Now, Barbara actually had a conversation with me about some of the things you'd said recently. And I think it was in regards to a write-in ballot. Can you ask him that question that we talked about?
Yeah. So I've seen that you've endorsed Joshua Freed for us to write in for lieutenant governor. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess along similar lines, can a write-in candidate win? Can you tell us why you opted to endorse him?
Well, there's two Democrats that made it past the primary. Washington is a top two, has a jungle primary, and the top two who emerge, whether they're two Democrats, two Republicans, or one Democrat, one Republican, they make it through to the general. And two Democrats made it through the primary. Joshua Freed was my competitor. He had been running for governor, but we came out of the primary along with the current governor. And so there are two Democrats running for lieutenant governor. So Joshua Freed threw his name in there as a write-in candidate, obviously hoping that the two Democrats split. So theoretically, Mr. Freed could win with 33.5% of the vote.
Wow. So you're telling people if you win or if you don't win, to write in the lieutenant governor is what you're saying. Is that the
no, right in the lieutenant governor anyway. Lieutenant governor in Washington State is a separate elected official, public servant.
Wow.
So yeah, write in Josh Freed for lieutenant governor.
Man, stir that pot. Let's get it going. I guess, I'm running out of time with you before you have to run. Along the lines of our question on should Americans vote for a non-politician this year, let's say you get elected. How many people that are actual politicians do you need around you to actually run efficiently and effectively, do you think, if any?
Well, I believe it's a 16 or 18 cabinet level positions that I will appoint. Some of them will be experienced in the political realm as well as whatever department they're going to be running. But yeah, I've got my eye on some people that are not political, haven't been in politics, but they're professionals. They know what their job's going to be. Like for the Department of Revenue, for example, that would be a good spot for someone who's has some accounting experience, yes. Right? Different things like that.
Go figure.
You don't want a radio show host? I'm available. I mean,
right. Well, our current governor appointed a large dollar fundraiser person to the Employment Security Department head. And they just lost almost $1 billion to Nigerian scammers when they tried to pay Washington citizens for their unemployment. Somebody ran off with almost $1 billion worth of cash right out of the government coffers, and she was not held accountable. She is still in that position. So I'm not going to appoint people who are big donors or who are my friends. I'm going to appoint people who know their job, and we'll get this government back under control in a short time.
Real quick question. Now that you're running for office, have you had a bunch of people trying to offer you money or favors in order to get you to go their way?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay.
No, and if I did, they wouldn't be around long. Now I can guarantee you that.
Would you
now
give
this campaign? This campaign is funded by we the people. The average donation to my campaign is about $80 per person, and we've raised over $3 million. My opponent has raised twice that amount, and large dollar donors, large donations from the state party, almost $2 million. And that's dark money. Where did that come from, right? Who's he owe? I don't know anybody except for we the people, because that's who's financing this campaign, and that's who I'm going to represent. And if anyone across the United States would help me out, I would love to be able to run more TV commercials. Like I said, we're on half a budget as our opponent. He's spending millions of dollars on TV ads. They're very expensive. So anybody in the United States can donate $5, $10, $50 at culpforgovernor.com. And I would really appreciate the help to get this state turned around and make it the great Northwest like it used to be.
Wow. I got to tell you, I'm extremely happy you came on the show. I could talk to you for another 3 hours and drill you and find out more about you. I will leave you with this. I appreciate everything you've done for this country and that state as both military and a police officer. Utmost respect. I'm sorry that y'all have had to go through some of the bull crap that's going on in this world. I absolutely respect what you have done and what your family has had to put up with as well. So
thank you very much.
Man. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you, Chief Culp.
Absolutely.
You bet. Thank you, Barb. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Barb. So let's keep
that was
going.
Awesome. Oh my goodness, that was cool. Wasn't that cool? Was I right?
That was cool. Man, that guy is down to earth. I would love to spend a lot more time getting to know him. I'm honestly kind of upset that I don't get to vote for him, you know?
I could have sworn you were tearing up at one point. I'm like, that's what it is. You wish you could move to Washington right now just so that you could cast your vote and then leave, right? Yeah.
Well, maybe not winter times. I mean, y'all got it pretty cold up there. Screw that. But I don't want the heat in the summer. Oh, man, here in Texas.
Maybe you need to be like reverse snowbird.
I just need to be rich and be able to have a personal plane that I can fly back and forth. But
well, there's that.
So let's go back and talk about some of the things he talked about. I mean, he had really great points of, I've had the leadership. I'm not working for to lead the people. He wants to lead the executive branch of his state. I mean,
that was the best possible answer to me. Just that, how are you going to lead, 7.5 million people? Not, you're going to lead you. And I'm just, I just thought it was fantastic. I'm excited to see if he has a chance. This is a state that largely elects
full blue, right?
What's that?
Y'all are full on blue. There's hardly any, or is it is it like Texas where we have 3 blue big cities and then that's
that's the thing. Like you've got big, the Seattle area is extremely liberal and the King County vote is what gets people in office. So the rest of the state actually is not very liberal. That was like lesson 1 for me growing up in Eastern Washington, is that your vote doesn't count. And I think that I have watched this guy. I have seen more Culp signs in Western Washington than I have ever seen any conservative candidate before. So I don't know if it's an indication that we just like signs more now, or if it's actually that he's convincing people. But
so I wonder if someone like him really stands a chance based on their political party, or if the fact that he's never been a politician, or are they just trying to replace the crap that's in office now, and that's all that matters?
I think that's the question. And I think that's the question that nobody has the answer. That's what I'm waiting to see, because I keep talking to people. I met a guy a couple weeks ago that had voted for the current governor twice. Okay. And this guy, he was rated 50th for governors in the United States by the Cato Institute last week. It's like, wow. And that's, has to do with just reckless spending. He would be about the only person in the state right now that got a raise recently. And he can tell everybody else, we're going to shut down the state. You all can't make money, but I can't stop my own raise. I mean, that's just going to happen, right? So I think that I have met a fair number of people that are, that have always voted Democrat, but they are fed up having their businesses taken from them. They are frustrated to see industry leaving. I think that that's what I keep hearing, is that there are people that are like, even if I don't agree with Chief Culp on everything, it could not be worse than what we're doing.
like he said, he wants to listen. And that's to me is key. If you're in office, work for me. If I bring up an issue, address it. Even if it's, I'm way off and, whatever it may be, address it somehow, some way, and let's find some resolution. Maybe there isn't a resolution, but you work for the people, not yourself,
right?
Or your future in politics. Who I'd really like to introduce to Culp would be John Huber, the guy that's been on our show before, the doctor. He's doing mental health awareness and trying to really push that out there in politics and government. And man, I'd really like to see them to get together and chat about some of the things that they could change, especially if he gets elected governor there. Even looking at it from a business aspect, you can't own a business for 20 years and not know how to make adjustments, move into a position that maybe you're unfamiliar in, have the courage to even do that. So that alone to me is kind of like, why not? So when we start thinking about non-politicians, what's their background? I mean, he's also chief of police. That's not easy. Yes, you might be in a small town. There are some politics involved in that, but you can't be a chief of police and not get sued like crazy or even get kicked out of the force if you don't know how to lead a team or even obey the laws that you're abiding by and enforcing.
Well, yeah, I kind of like, and if I think about who do I want, if I'm going to look at a non-politician as a candidate, who do I want? I want someone that I think can handle crime, right? I want someone that I think has a clue what we think as people, what our demographic is. I love the idea of having a businessman running for office, quite frankly, because I think you've been on the short end of the bureaucratic stick. You know about red tape, about regulations that keep you from doing business, things like that. I would prefer to have someone like that. Do I think that someone like me should get voted for? Not terribly. I don't think I have viable experience. I listen to this guy though, and I think, he's done it.
The hair for it. Come on.
You do have the hair for it. That's true. They would probably put me in turtlenecks nonstop. Be like, we think you are inappropriate to the people. Cover up the sleeves. Yeah, that's real.
No, but you can say you're a blue and go for the Democratic side, and you can say, hey, I'm different. Come on, vote for me. This is why. But
maybe.
So what else can you add to this topic as far as convincing one way or the other? Because there's going to be people out there going, well, there's no political knowledge. Is he really going to do it?
I think that's the compelling thing, and this is what all of us are facing this year, whether you're in Washington State or not. You're facing it as an American, right? You are being given a choice, a very vivid choice, presidentially this year, between a businessman that you find offensive and a career politician that you find offensive. So at some point, you're going to have to take the whole, they're all offensive. Okay. We can just,
Kanye, is that what you're saying?
yeah, we can just accept that. But I think that maybe we need to shift our thinking out of politics. Do we like where things are at? I mean, do we like how things have been? And if you want to keep it this way, great, continue to go career politician. But I think it seems like we're at a point in our country where it would behoove us to go back and think this country wasn't founded by politicians. That we got here doesn't, I would like to see people that actually know how to build things, people that actually know how to interact with other humans, and people that don't have to have a study for everything. They don't have to. I would like to see people that actually do things. And so, I didn't vote for President Trump last time around. Actually didn't vote in the last one, which is appalling to admit. I will be this time because he did things, and that's what I want. I'm pretty over having someone that is going to tell me the right things and think that they're looking the right way and not actually do something.
Well, okay, so you brought up the topic of Trump, so I'm gonna talk about it slightly.
It's a national show. It had to happen. It's
so, I think even whether you like Trump or not, one of the things he did talk about is, I'm not a politician. I'm running for office, and I'm going to work for you, and I'm going to drain the swamp. Keywords: drain the swamp. I think even he is finding out that's a tall order to fill. I mean, that swamp is thick, it's deep, and it's on both sides. I mean, if you look at the people that Kamala Harris in their debate the other day talked about that was coming over to their side, the Republicans, they're part of that swamp. They've been around. They're career politicians, just like John McCain. They keep saying, Trump was making fun of all military. No, he was making fun of that idiot. I mean, I know he's dead. I'm sorry, but I didn't vote for him when he was running for president. I don't like the guy. I never really have. So it's the same aspect of what I saw when Trump talked about it. He's not talking about all of them. Shut up. And I think it's one of the things that scares people the most is he'll say whatever the hell he wants. It is what it is. Yeah. I kind of like that, but I know there's moments where you need to shut the heck up.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, he is often offensive, but then I have to look and say, is it less offensive to me to have a politician lie to me and tell me what they think I want to hear? Yeah. Like, I think they're both pretty offensive. So how about we go with one that's, at least what you see is what you get. Is he all the stuff I read about him, I think I'm not a huge fan of him personally. I don't really want to have him over for brunch, but I do think. You don't want
him to kiss your babies and shake your hand?
Oh man, there's not enough disinfectant. But you know what? I don't care. I would not feel better with someone that was saying all the right things and then not doing anything or doing something that I think is worse. I like the idea of business owners being the ones that are running for office right now.
I will go on record though and say I will respect anyone that has been in office. I might not agree with everything you chose to do or what you didn't do. You were in office, you were president or governor, whatever it may be. I absolutely would shake your hand, spend some time with you, talk to you. Like, no problems with it.
Yeah.
Obama.
Oh, I totally agree.
Dude, come on, let's go. I'll talk to you.
I'm so over this whole he's not my president thing. It wasn't impressive when people said it during Obama's administration. It's not impressive now. Like, knock it off. It's annoying.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, did I just get opinionated? That was a little opinionated. My bad.
A little bit. It's your third show. It's time for you to leave anyway, so.
You're not wrong.
I'm glad you didn't attack Chief Culp. I mean, I think he would have lashed out and used a taser on you, but
See, I do have intellect involved with who the thing is, why bother when he's already willing to tear himself apart on his own? Like that's the thing is I enjoy listening to someone that I don't think I could have thrown something at him that he wouldn't have had an answer to. I watched him in the debate And I'm telling you, y'all should go find the video of the debate. Most debates this year are horrible to watch. This was entertaining. He was so prepared. And I don't think he was prepared because he had some PR person telling him exactly what to think and say. I think he actually thinks. It was a really striking contrast.
So quick governor related story. When I was a kid, I had a neighbor that was working on the premise. We won't go into details. He let me come on the property and he showed me the whole Capitol. I got walked all over that building, including to the top. It was amazing. I'll always remember it. But you know who was governor at the time? It was George Bush. So I got to go in his office and sit in there and see all the cool things he had. I remember seeing baseballs that he had signed and everything. It was amazing. Of course, I was like, I'm not touching crap. I don't want to be blamed for nothing. And of course, I wasn't into politics at all. Yeah. But it was so cool. It was like, I'm in the governor's office. And then shortly thereafter, he starts to be elected. And even right after he was elected, I dated a girl down the street from Rick Perry's house. But when I was driving by, they had state troopers and everything. And they were like, you can't stay around here. Who are you? What are you doing? We can't tell you who's in the house, but like, whatever. You think a little kid like me is going to do anything? I'll ring the doorbell. You get out of my way.
You have sort of a vivid, if not sketchy, political history here, John.
Yeah.
You're on the outskirts of everybody. Yeah.
Knee deep in politics. Here we go. Okay, so you ready? Do you have your deciding factor answer?
Yeah. I think I might have had that before we got here.
You're probably biased here. I'm not biased, though.
Now it's time for our deciding factor.
Okay, Barb. I will say, based on the particular answer he had that I had asked him about, which is, are you going to have anybody in your office who is a career politician, right? That one was key to me because whenever you look at business, if you think you're going to have a CEO come in, clear house, and you're going to be perfectly fine, you're stupid as crap. That's not going to happen. You have to have somebody that knows the ropes in that business to help you figure out what's going on. And like he said, I'm going to have people that are politicians in certain roles. Not all, but some. So that to me is a fantastic response and what I needed to hear. So the problem and the thing you really need to think about when talking non-politician running for office, it's okay in certain situations. It's not okay across the board because there's a lot of people that don't have a background to make these choices and decisions that need to be made on that level. But when it comes to someone like Chief Culp, he has that background based on what I've read and what I've seen and what we talked about. He can do it. And I think he could probably do it better than a lot of these politicians, especially in Washington. It sounds like that guy needs to get kicked out the door and as quick as possible. Otherwise, your state's going to suffer economically big time really fast. It's kind of like here in Austin. The city council is really starting to cause problems and turn it into a place that it has never been. And there's a lot of companies that won't go into Austin because of those people. I don't want politicians. I would love a change myself. So I think, yes, you should absolutely get rid of most, if not all, of the politicians that have been there for years or even decades. Let's do it.
I was one of the people at the beginning of this that thought that that we needed to have a politician in there because honestly, I thought that they would eat him alive. I think that I have been someone that thought, whether I think that this is good, this is the way it is. couldn't picture one person being able to change enough. I'm not talking changing everything, but to change enough to make a difference. I'm eating my words, and I'm really happy eating my words. The more that I listen to him, the more I think I'm coming at this wrong. We absolutely need to be putting people in leadership that understand that they're there to serve us. And that is, maybe that is the good that we got out of this whole coronavirus overreaction, was that we have seen how much our leaders can impact our daily lives should they decide to. I would like that changed. I want my own decisions back. I want my life back. And I think that we can't keep, it's insanity, right? To keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I'm going to start looking for the candidates that are not politicians, and I want to hear what their life experience is like, and I want to hear what they would do about it. Chief Culp has had intelligent answers to every question that was asked him. And this has been true for months now. The more I listen, the more compelling it is. So I think, yes, we ought to be looking, at least taking a serious look at non-political politicians this election.
Got to get out and vote. That's key. I did it yesterday. Me and the wife. I think she canceled out my vote, which I'm not happy about. Whatever. Love ya. Yeah, and I don't even know what to say about all the, I'm really glad to get this political crap done. Our preacher at our church has spent a series over the last several weeks talking about anger, aggression, agitation, anxiety, and a lot of it's dealing with politics. And man, I tell you what, I loved hearing him talk to everyone about just shutting up and being respectful. I wish the world would hear it and do something like that, but I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe one day.
Yeah.
So, this show was brought live on YouTube. We will more than likely be doing more shows on YouTube live. Make sure that you are subscribed to our channel on YouTube if you want to catch some of these live, because then you can see us screw up like Barb freezing on camera. That was awesome. And then, of course, we do air our shows every Monday morning, and make sure you catch them. Also, follow us on social media, because Barb loves to talk on there a lot and send out a lot of posts.
I'm totally uncensored. It's fantastic.
Yeah, she needs to stop doing her hair and kid pictures on there, I think.
It was funny. It was funny, and you know it.
Oh, but get involved in the conversations. We love it. We want more of it. And if there is someone you want to see on the show or a topic that you want us to do, you can only tell us. Can't read your minds. Barb, do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, sometimes I can read your minds on like Friday evenings, but only because it's predictable. So, nope. Thank you guys all for tuning in. This was fun.
Alton will be back, and the Deciding Factor Extra coming soon. It's going to be fun. I think it will. What about you, Barb?
Oh, it's going to be awesome. This is, what did we say about uncensored before? This is going to be awesome.
All right. It was fun. Thanks for tuning in. Say bye.
Bye.
This has been another episode of The Deciding Factor, giving you food for thought on real life issues. Be sure to click, like, and subscribe to this podcast, as well as all your big social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't forget to check out our website at thedecidingfactorpodcast.com and give us comments and feedback. Until next time, stay safe and remember to keep an open mind.